Welcome to How Do I Fix My Credit Scores? So today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about your credit scores, what causes scores to be down, what causes scores to go up, and really, what's the purpose of the credit score? What does that indicate to a bank or a lender when they look at your score? Well, very simply put, the purpose of your credit score is to give a score, a number, to the bank or whoever you're seeking to get credit from to indicate your likelihood of default within the next 12 months. What's that mean? Well, it means that when a bank or a lender looks at your credit report, they're trying to find out whether you're a good risk or not. So what items kind of go into that? We're going to get into that. What are the things that you should do to kind of get a head start to try to start working on your credit to make sure that your scores are where they need to be so that you can qualify for the best credit terms that are available when it's time for you to get credit? Well, one, you have to monitor it, you have to look at it, you have to know where to go. Typically, a lender for a home loan is going to look at the three credit reporting agencies: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. What I typically recommend doing is going to those three companies' websites, developing an account, and getting a copy of all three of those reports. Why? Some creditors report to all three bureaus, some do not. If you work on just one of the bureau's reports, you may miss something, and that might be the reason why you don't get the best credit terms that you can. I do recommend monitoring your credit, whether that means that you monitor your credit through Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, or you use a third-party application like, say, Credit Karma. It's good to monitor it. Keep in mind that those score models that they use on those third-party applications, they're not 100% accurate, and the reason for that is there are different versions of the credit score. Right now in the mortgage world, we use an older version, and it's primarily because it's what works and what's been accepted by the FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and pretty much everybody who purchases loans on the secondary market. They kind of dictate what version we use. Through Credit Karma and some of the other third-party sites, the scores that you see may be accurate, they may not. It just depends on that scoring model that they use and what's on your report. So it's good to use those to monitor activity and see that the activities that you're making, what you're doing, is moving you in a positive direction, or there's something that just popped up that you need to take care of right away. The last thing you want to do is go through this whole process of improving your credit score and then have something jump out and bite you. It's like a torpedo in the water that you can't keep it from sinking your ship once it gets onto your credit report. So, being able to monitor those things effectively are very important. Once you get the credit reports, what do? Well, you should go through them all. Go through every line item that reports on that credit report and verify it for its accuracy. Now, they report all the way back to 7 years. So there may be stuff on there that you don't necessarily recall it occurring, but it might have actually happened. So what I recommend doing is take notes on all of those accounts that are on there. Keep in mind that your current accounts, they do not report current, meaning that if you've got a Chase credit card or what have you, bank credit card, that I just pay the balance down to $50 and it shows on the credit report $125. They don't report what you just paid it down to. They typically report what was on the last bill that they sent you. So that balance and payment that were on the last bill, that's what's on the credit report if they've reported for that month's cycle yet. And they typically report, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks after that bill date. So keep that in mind when you're reviewing your report. Like I said, look at all of the trade lines, make notes on them. As you're going through, the things to understand in terms of what causes your score to be good, what causes your score to be bad. Good scores are typically indicative of people who pay their bills on time and people who keep credit card balances low. I don't mean at zero, I mean low relative to the limit. There are some places that'll tell you that 30% of the limit is a sweet spot. I'll tell you that a token balance maximizes your score, meaning that if you've got a card that's got a $5,000 limit, having a $1,500 balance on the card doesn't maximize your score. Having a $35 balance on the card does maximize your score. So if you're able to bring those balances down substantially to that token balance, it's going to help your score quite a bit. Things that cause your scores to go down, obviously late payments, collections, charge-offs, a lot of inquiries on your report, new accounts, credit cards that are over the limit. All of those things cause your scores to go down. So while you're going through your report, one thing that you want to do is you want to go through and identify those items that could be causing your scores to be lower than they should be. And like I said, it's credit card balances, late payments, collections, charge-offs, and other collection accounts. Now, as far as the easiest things to do to cause your credit scores to go up, one, with time, if you make payments on time, your credit scores are going to go up regardless. Two, pay your credit card balances down. That's the easiest thing to do to get your credit scores to go up. If you have no credit cards, your scores are going to remain fairly stagnant, and they're not typically going to be really high because you don't have any utilization of credit. You haven't been playing the game. Typically, when we're looking at a credit report, the sweet spot for credit cards is to have 2 of them with a token balance on them. I hear a lot of people go, oh, somebody told me to make sure that I max that out. Well, that's bad information. You want to use it, but you don't want to max it out. You want to keep it with a very small balance. As far as what to do with collection accounts, there is one type of collection account that if you pay it off, it gets removed from your credit report, and that is a medical collection account. I can't tell you the number of times that I hear from people, oh, that should have been settled by insurance, or some other entity should have paid it. At the end of the day, medical billing is so complex these days that you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor, you don't know who you're getting a bill from. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to make sure that if in fact you do have to go somewhere and there are different doctors or different services that see you, that you're looking for those bills in the mail, because they're not typically, they don't bill you while you're there. They send you a bill later. So if you do have insurance that pays for that, you need to make sure that you get those 2 parties together as soon as possible. Like I said, the great news about medical collections is if for some reason you happen to miss that bill and it becomes a collection account, once it gets paid off, it gets removed from the credit report. And that's the only collection account that by paying it off, it actually gets removed. So that's a positive thing that they've done for the consumer as far as fair credit reporting. As far as other collection accounts and charge-offs, if you've got a charge-off or a collection as it relates to an old credit card, my recommendation, because remember we're talking about balances as it relates to credit limits, those balances on those old credit cards that are charged off still reflect as a credit card that's over its limit on your credit report. So my recommendation is to negotiate a payoff with that creditor so that you can show that that thing is paid off and it doesn't get a chance for it to be resold. If it gets resold, it's a new collection account on your credit report, causing your scores to go down even further. So negotiate with that creditor to pay off that debt. How do you negotiate? Well, let's say you call and you validate that the amount they're saying that you owe is $1,000. The way the conversation goes is something like this. Listen, I'm trying to work on some past credit issues. I'm setting a little money aside each month. I've set aside about $300 for this particular account because that's really what I thought I owed. So I'm trying to find out, would your company accept a settlement of $300 to call the account paid in full with a 0 balance? At the end of the day, the answer to the question is either going to be yes or no. If the answer to the question is no, many times they'll give you a counter offer to what you've offered. So you then get to decide whether you're able to do what their counter offer is. If not, you don't do anything. You do know what their counter offer is, so that if you're able to do that at a later date, you swing back and you try again. You try again with the lower number. They give you their counter offer, and if you're able to do it at that time, you make sure you get the stuff in writing, meaning, they've agreed to report the balance as paid in full based upon a $600 payoff on $1,000 debt. Once I get that letter in writing, I'm happy to pay the balance, what we've agreed upon, to make it report as a zero balance. Contrary to popular belief, by refreshing the old derogatory account, it does refresh the account, but if you refresh it to a zero balance, it is positive on your credit, not negative. So what I'm saying is that when you have a negative on your credit like that, it's better to pay it off than it is to allow it to continue to sit around on your credit report and potentially have the debt resold, where another creditor can pop up a new collection account on your credit report, causing your scores to go down. So negotiate the debt if you're able. Other collection accounts like repossessions of automobiles, those are a little bit tougher because typically the balances are a little bit higher. So it'll typically show that it was a repossession with a balance still being owed. Many people just don't mess with it because at the end of the day, because it's charged off, they allow time to elapse. However, if you get to a position where you're able to reconcile that by paying any remaining balance, you likely should, because once again, it keeps it from being resold. So you should catch on to that theme. If you have a collection or charge off account, those people are able to resell that debt, and those debt collectors are also able to report to your credit as a fresh collection account. So let's say you've gone through this whole process of paying bills on time, paying down credit card balances, negotiating a couple of debts off of your credit, paid some medical bills, and your credit score has gone from a 550 to a magical 660, and you qualify. But the ones that you didn't reconcile, somebody reports a new collection account, your credit score plummets back to where it was or close, and you no longer qualify. That's why it's important to try to reconcile those items that you know are yours. If you do in fact choose to go to a credit repair company, and some of them are great, some of them, the people know what they're doing and they're actually able to help, and it's not all letters going to the credit bureaus, this isn't mine, this isn't mine, this isn't mine, because the credit bureaus get millions of those a day, and all they do is take computer to computer and reconcile that, yes, this computer says it's yours, this computer says it's yours, it stays. So what a good credit repair company will do is go into the trade lines themselves and find data that's inconsistent and dispute the inconsistent data where humans have to be involved. And sometimes when the humans have to be involved, the collection agencies, they don't do a very good job of being involved, and the accounts get deleted. So if you do in fact go to credit repair, ask them to show you their history and ask what it is they actually do. If it's not mine letters, you need to find somebody else, because that's also a cost. They're not doing it for free. They don't do it out of the goodness of their heart. Part of the reason for this video is for me to explain to you how you can do it on your own, so you don't add another debt to your monthly expenses that are already tight. That's the reason that your credit got to where it is to begin with. So once you go through all this, like I said, the education part of it is understanding that credit card balances, new inquiries, new accounts, all of that stuff impacts your report. So if you get your score up higher and you go into a department store and they go, hey, we're going to give you 30% off if you apply for new credit. No, don't do that. Your goal is to buy a house or to obtain the credit that you need to be able to, for a car or another credit card, or, whatever it might be. By obtaining a 30% discount at a department store that's going to cause your credit score to go down because you've got a new account and a new inquiry, that's silly. So, pay attention to the tips and the information that I've given you in this video. Feel free to go back to the beginning, start taking notes if you haven't done that already. If you have questions about any of the information that I've provided to you, feel free to reach out to me. I can be reached through direct messaging on YouTube. or any other platform for that matter. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, because we're going to be putting videos out here like this, on a daily basis to help people who aren't qualified to buy homes to buy new homes.